Okay, well.
Got it.
Hey,
There's Charlie Dunn showing up from paradise.
oh my God, it's Charlie Dunn. It's
Oh my God, it's Charlie Dunn. I hear that all the time.
and it's like
Yeah,
video.
I know. I bet you do.
And Larry Butler and various
Bobby Curley. Hey, Bobby.
Hey guys.
Hey, Bobby Curley, good to hear from, see your face. Okay, so I just want to thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Nancy Deckent, the founder and CEO of Discover Sooner. And our mission is to help the next generation of songwriters and artists meet publishers and music professionals. And that includes music supervisors and sync agents. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors for who do so much for us. Amy Scruggs, who's a media coach, Bev Mosser at Be Noticed Public Relations. If you need some public relations, think of Bev Mosser. Chuck Allen Floyd of Floyd Law Group. He's an awesome attorney who knows entertainment inside and out. Chewy's, who's always given us little dinners for two for our speakers. Dave Lenehan, Songwriter Connection podcast. If you want to be on it, he's on Discover Sooner. You can just email him or text, message him. And Shure MV microphone. So thank you to all of our sponsors for that. I want to tell you this, if you manage to stick around for this whole entire metadata thing, I'm gonna show my screen right now. We are going to give away at the end of tonight. I will mail you this book. It is called Hey, That's My Song, a guide to getting placements in TV film by Tracy and Vance Marino, who came and spoke to us, and everybody's name is in a random generator. And so at the end of the night, we're going to random generate it, and the top person will get that book and we'll mail it to you. And I wanted to also tell you, yay, that we have our next sync challenge up. Since you're all interested in metadata, you must care about sync. And Donna Bukovic we're really partnering with Discover Sooner to expand her team of writers. So this is going to be a really cool and totally wonderful workshop that we're going to do once a month for 3 months. She's going to give us a brief to write to, and we're going to try to write songs and produce them in such a way that can fit into her movies. So go to discoversooner.com, Sooner Sync Challenge, and I'll put that in the chat and learn all about it. And if you are interested in being on a team or putting your own team together for this thing, then you can read all about it and come to the Sooner Sync Challenge. I'm going to put it right here. Okay. Hey, Jason Campbell, who was at our last Sooner Sync Challenge with Unicorn Sync. So anyway, guys, I want to introduce you to Bill O'Hanlon. He has started out as a psychotherapist, and he's an author. He's written 40 books. He's amazing. And when he started to transition his life over into songwriting, he has really been taking the world by storm. He's got some great songs. I do song plugging for him. And he also has some various sync placements that are really coming true for him and his team. And he loves to teach. And he's such a great teacher. And like we all in sync need information about what do you mean about this metadata? What are you turning us all into programmers or what? And so we're going to learn tonight from Bill about metadata. And this is such an important part of when you are pitching your songs to sync agents or music supervisors. So that's why we put this together. So thank you so much, Bill. And go ahead. I'm going to have you take it from here.
Okay, and this won't be too long, but what Nancy said earlier, I used to speak, and I've written a bunch of books, and I've done 3,700 presentations around the world. When I learn something that I think is really important and really cool, I just have this compulsion to share it with people. I can't stop myself. And Nancy and I talk all the time, and I go, I wish I'd known about metadata when I started, both as a country songwriter who was trying to pitch my songs to people, and especially when I got into sync. So this will be valuable even if you don't write anything for sync, even if you write for artists, because I've heard from people that they wanted to send a song, they wanted to record a song. An artist wanted to record a song, couldn't find any information about who sent him the song, who wrote the song. That's in your metadata. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen now, and I have some slides, and Nancy has a copy of these slides. When she sends you the link for the replay, in case you drop out or you couldn't make it quite on time for the beginning of this, or somebody couldn't make it right on time or at this time, she's going to send a link to the replay and a link to the slides. There'll be PDFs. Yes,
And
Nancy?
Bill, will you please mute everybody except for yourself so that we don't interfere with your presentation too?
Okay, I think everyone's muted, but let me just look here.
Except for,
There's a person on the phone that's a little, but yeah, mute. There we go.
okay,
I
I'm
think
going to mute
everybody's muted.
myself too, so.
Okay, good. And you just jump in. You just jump in if there's a question or something that's a technical issue that I need to know about, Nancy. Otherwise, I'll just go. All right. So I'm going to share my screen because I got a few slides that'll help us keep track.
Hey,
All right.
okay, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. All right. Here we go. So mastering metadata, giving your song a better chance of being placed and signed by mastering the tags associated with your music tracks. What is metadata? Also called METATAGS or metatagging. It consists of information, keywords, and images attached to your music file so that others can see when you send them your file to them. And that's going to be a crucial thing. Sometimes the metadata doesn't come across when you send it via the internet, and that's even if you put it in, and that's where you get messed up. Some of you know about like Google searches, and you put in keywords, and that helps you find the data that you want. Well, music supervisors, people, A&R people, managers, producers, when they're looking for certain kinds of songs, they can use your meta tags to find your songs and to find who's written those songs and who they need to contact to record those songs or license those songs in music, just for a record or for a release, or especially again in music, in sync stuff, which is music, video, any video to music coordination. That's why it's called synchronization. TV, movies, commercials, video games, promos, web promos, anything like that. Sometimes publishers, sync agents, sync agencies, sync libraries, or artists listen to a song long after it was sent, forget who sent it, who wrote it, how to contact the writers or the people associated with it. You could lose out on a cut or a placement if you don't get this right. Sync libraries and agents often search for the kinds of songs they want quickly using metadata. So having great meta tags or good meta tags, they have to be accurate, in place, can up your the chance of your song being found. So what kinds of information go in metadata? Obviously, the most important one is the writer's names and contact information. The publisher's names and contact information, if they're different, and they often are. Sometimes you have a publisher, or you're not the publisher of the song, or someone else has a publisher that's also associated with the song. The BPM, the instrumentation in the song, the genre, the lyric content, the feel of the song, what songs this song may be like, and whether or not the song is licensable, if you're both for cutting from an artist, or if so, how easily. So I'll make a few distinctions. There are one-stop license offers. There's easy, clear. There's ones that are more complex. And any special minority or marginalized status or writers or producers or vocalists, I get briefs all the time to say, we want a BIPOC. And I was like, what is that, a biopic? I didn't know what it was at first, but it's Black, Indigenous people of color. Also, I think most of you know what LGBTQ or LGBTQIA plus, and also AAPI, which is Asian American Pacific Islander. I've gotten briefs saying, we won't be able to place this unless there's an AAPI artist, producer, or writer on this track. So if you've got those, like I write rap every once in a while. I do not sing my own rap songs. I hire somebody who's an African-American guy. I actually hired a person from Africa one time, but so that goes in the BIPOC category. And some people, because there's been such discrimination against people who have had minority status in the past, some record companies, record labels, and sync agents and sync supervisors, music supervisors, are trying to lean into getting people who have had minority status to get placements. So if you put that in there, if it's true, again, don't lie about it. It's got to be accurate. It can give your track just a little more traction, if you will, and they'll search for BIPOC or LGBTQ or AAPI or something else. If you have some other minority status, it might be, some, divergent, cognitively divergent or whatever it may be. If you've got something that you think will stand out and that people want to support. So how to attach to metadata? So I'll just tell you a quick story. I was pitching through a sync agent about when I first started, maybe about 5 years ago. And she wrote me twice and said, I am going to stop taking your songs if you don't put metadata in your songs. And I said, I put metadata in them. I would send her a song and the metadata didn't stick. She goes, well, it's not coming across to me and I don't have the time to jerk around with this. You've got to get the metadata right. I'm like, I thought I got it right. I would open on my computer and it would work just fine. I learned a couple of things. It sticks pretty well to MP3 files, but occasionally gets stripped out when you send it over the internet, and AIFF files, but not WAV files. I was sending a WAV file. It looked great on my end, but when you send a WAV file over the web, and they open it on their end, all the metadata gets stripped out, or a lot of it. Sometimes some of it sticks, but it's not much. There are programs you can buy that can attach it in a weird way to WAV files. So, if they say a high quality file, I was just sending WAV files. AIFF is an Apple format, and you can get online tools that will convert things to the different formats. If you send a WAV file with metadata, it may not show up. It even gets stripped out of MP3s and AIF files at times when you send it. So around that same time, so let me just show you, just while I was preparing this presentation, I got an email on September 2nd. Happy Friday, everyone. I want to send a quick reminder of how important metadata is. Without metadata, we don't know who the song belongs to. It's happened a few times where we want to forward a song to a placement, a movie, a TV show, a commercial, but can't because it had no metadata. Now, this particular music supervisor, the briefs I was getting were for $18,000, $25,000, $10,000. And she says, metadata matters. At the very least, it should have your contact info. Please make sure this is all set before submitting to leads. We want you to win. Here's another one I found. This guy is a music supervisor on LinkedIn, and I'm connected with him. And he did this post just September 8th, about a week after that. He said, I've supervised 9 films in the past 3 years, and I've learned 5 things. And the second thing he mentioned was metadata is everything. Writer splits, stems, lyrics, etc. It's all so crucial to have ready. The train will leave if you aren't at the station ready to go. Music comes from passion, but it's also a business and needs to be presented as one. Be ready. So I think I've made my case. Simple ways to attach metadata, use iTunes. Click Command I on a Mac or right Windows key plus I on Windows, I think. I'm not a Windows user, so some of you will know that a little better. Whatever information, however you get information on your files on a Windows machine, use that. A window will pop up with some information and some tabs. Using iTunes is what most people do. They put their metadata in iTunes. And iTunes is on Windows and on Macs or on Apple computers. So what happens if you press Control I on iTunes, you will see a window like this, and you fill in all that data, the title of the song, the artist, the album artist, the composer. Grouping is something different, and say show composer in all views if you want. The genre, there's a drop-down list, or you can add a custom genre. The year, if it's part of a compilation or an album, you can put in the track number, but I typically don't put that in because I'm pitching one song at a time. The BPM, and don't worry about the play count or the ratings. Those are for people who are listening to music and want to listen to their 5-star music on Apple Music or iTunes. And then the comments is where your information goes. So let me just show you this here. I've filled one out, Phil's new hit song. And I filled out as much as I want to put for metadata. You see this? So I'm going to put the the year and the BPM, and then the contact information. That's really crucial. And then who has the publishing. I put in Tom Douglas just for Nancy. So you can also add album artwork. It makes your track look a little more professional if you can put in album art. Now, some of you know how to do album art. You can do it on Canva with, if you've got a subscription to Canva. I actually just use this place called Unsplash, which gives license for, royalty-free pictures. And then I put it in one of my programs on my Apple, which is Preview, and I add a title. This is a song I wrote called Take Back My Power. And it was a BIPOC song, so that album artwork is appropriate. Then I want to put in lyrics. iTunes will let you put in lyrics. Put in lyrics because sometimes those lyrics will show up when they search for a song. When a music supervisor or a sync agent searching for a song, they want something that says, let's see, you made me a mess. Oh, this scene is about somebody being a mess. All of a sudden your lyric pops up, you made me a mess. Okay, great. This song could be one I want to consider. So here's what, if you actually buy a song or download a song, which I used to do on Apple, here's what shows up. They filled in some of the metadata so you can see who wrote it. You can see there's album art you can see up there. All right. And if you open it on your computer, if you open a file on your computer, this is, again, I'm on a Mac, I click on the file and I press Command I for information. All right. And that's what shows up if there's no metadata. This is how my songs were showing up to that music supervisor, that music sync agent who was really mad at me. I had filled in my metadata, and when she would open them, this is what they would look like. They would say where they came from. They would say this weird name. That's not even the name of my song. And I'm like, what the heck? So she'd send it back to me and I'd open it and this is what it would look like. I'm like, well, what happened to all my metadata? So you got to make sure it sticks. Where you want to put the main stuff is in the comments section. You see that comments section there? That's what sticks for that. And again, you can add, data or whatever. Now, after that music supervisor or sync agent yelled at me, I was just getting really serious about sync, and I discovered this program called disco.ac. Australian sync supervisors and sync writers got together and made what they considered to be state-of-the-art best way to store and track and pitch your songs for sync. But you can use it for country pitching or rock pitching or, pop pitching or whatever. It's built in. So I started to put all my songs that I wanted to pitch up to disco, add you can see album art there, and put in all my metadata. And it has various, tabs we'll go through in a minute. And then when I would download it from disco and send it as an MP3 or as an AIFF, no music supervisor ever told me I didn't have metadata anymore. It always stuck, okay? So if you're serious about sync, to me, I would get a subscription to disco. Nancy uses disco, she's a sync agent, and when I send her a song, she can just do one click and it downloads right into her disco account. And it keeps all these tags, and that's super convenient. Most music supervisors and sync agents I know are using it. Even A&R people in country are starting to use this because it's so convenient. Now, some use another one called Song Space. So there's a space for the lyrics, there's a space for tags, and they have automatic tags, and you can add your own. And when I send that file, it shows all these tags will show up in the comments section in the information part of the file. Now, I also put the metadata in notes, and here's an example. When I have a song on disco, this is what it looks like when I send a link to someone. And you see it says download, and you can download, the music supervisor, the A&R person can download it directly, or it says save to disco. Now this I here is the lyrics typically, but on the lyrics, you can also put some metadata. It gives you an opportunity to download the MP3 or the WAV file, or the AIFF, whatever you want. So that's what it's going to look like when you pitch it to somebody. But when they click that I, this is what's going to show up when I pitch this song. You see, I put my metadata in there again, my contact info, along with the lyrics. That's everything they need to know initially. It's nice to have those tags, whether it's rock or hip hop or blues or whatever genre. It's nice to have that stuff. All right. So they give you an option to download waves or AIFFs, whatever you've loaded up there, or to save to disco when I send that link. One of the great things about disco is you're not sending it out into I'm hearing some noise somewhere. I don't know what that noise is. Maybe there's somebody that unmuted. If you can look, Nancy, or maybe, I don't know what it's from.
I'm hearing it too. Yes, I will
see if there's somebody that's unmuted that's making some noise. So the great news about disco, and this is also true with SongSpace, it tells me if someone actually listened to the link that I sent them or they downloaded. So this is one I pitched for a video game thing called Riot Games. And I pitched it to a sync agent, an agency. And when in a day or so, or a week or whatever, I went on and I said, hey, did anybody listen to this? I wanted to know. Yes, 14 page views. They downloaded the playlist twice. They downloaded 2 tracks from it and they streamed it 8 times. Then I know it's not just going out into the void and I have no idea whether anybody's listening to my songs. So these are also pitch tracking services, which I really like. So when I download the song from disco, here's what shows up now. No music supervisor is going to yell at me with all that metadata in there. You see that? What shows up in the comment? Even the kind of song it is. It's a singer-songwriter. It has love, romantic, romance, light, minimal, dreamy, bright, beautiful, all these adjectives to describe the song. And mid-tempo, indie folk, harmonies, male vocal. If they're looking for a male vocal love song and they put that in, I've sent them the song, they put that in their disco and search through one of their libraries, up my song will pop. If they're in a hurry, and then it says one stop at the very end, which means they can get a license from me today in a minute. And they love that stuff. So this is what it looks like on my computer when I download it from Disco. And before it had big holes in my metadata. So I really love Disco. So you can also, I get briefs in sync, and I know Nancy knows this. It'll say due in 2 hours. And I'm like, 2 hours? Like what? And I like, okay, I need to find a punk song with a male vocal with this kind of lyric, and it's due in 2 hours. And I go into my Disco and I search punk and I search male vocal. And now I have a list of 5 songs that I've written that are punk and have a male vocal. And I can quickly look through the lyric and see if it fits. It takes me so much less time to search through my own catalog. I write, some of you know, I write hundreds of songs a year. I forget. Someone today said they wanted to put, one of my co-writers said, I want to pitch 3 of our songs. And I said, yeah, I don't think I'm on that middle one. And my other 2 co-writers who were on a co-write with me this morning said, yeah, you are. We wrote that like a year ago. And I was like, I have no memory of it. And then they played it and I had a memory of it. So I can't remember the songs I have. Some of you, if you write very few songs, that's easy. But again, music supervisors and I want a quick way to search, and metadata is a great way to search things. So when I put heartbreak, I get a brief that says we want heartbreak songs. Here's the songs that come up when I search in my Disco for heartbreak songs. Break a Heart, Should Never Have Kissed Her, Hello Love, Invisible Ink, The Might Have Been, Love's a Cruel Thing, You Mess Me Up. I can also search for instrumentals. I can also search for indie. There's various search things that you can do. I search for indie rock, and here's the songs that started to come up there. It goes a little longer here, but you get the point. If I get an indie rock brief, it's a quick way for me to figure out if I have any songs that might be even in the ballpark. Sometimes they put out briefs that say, it has to be BPM 120 or above. We want fast songs for this. Okay, well, I'll put in BPM 120 and I'll get a bunch of songs that are 120. So test your meta tag. If you follow this stuff that I've just talked about, send your song to a friend and have him or her open it, sorry, that's typo, and see if the metadata survived the trip through cyberspace. Send that same friend a link to your online downloadable version of your song if you put it in Dropbox or anything, and make sure the metadata is coming through. Test it before you're in one of those high pressure situations where a mess up could really screw you up. So I've given you these slides, and I have my little advertisements here at the end. Here's a bunch of songs I've written that have been released. Here's if you can get on my mailing list by going and checking out my furniture lesson here. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to have Nancy host us for questions, and let me know anything that I missed on the chat.
Hey,
you gotta unmute yourself.
I know. Does anybody have any question? Why don't you raise your hand? Anybody?
I saw a question in there. Do you keep all your songs separate in Disco, or do you have them all in grouped or different types of folders? You can just keep them all in there, but I actually have what they call playlists. And I have several playlists, and then I create playlists when I pitch. That's what's tracked. So I have teams that I work with sync, and I have a folder that's country songs in Disco. I have a folder that's I Do, which is one of the production writing teams I work with. I have another one called Doll, which is another of the production teams I work with. I have another one that's a generic sync one that I call Hook, Line, and Sync. I put everything that's not those 2 teams into a playlist, but you can just put just your songs in there, but when you pitch them, you should make a playlist because that's trackable.
Yeah, I mean,
that's great. So Nancy has a discount, and there's a discount. If you click on the chat, go and look, and if you want to get on Disco, I just had to up my Disco. I have over 1,000 tracks on Disco, and they just said, you've gone over your limit. You need to buy the next level. I'm like, oh, that's good news and bad news. I have over 1,000 tracks on my Disco. The bad news is I paid a little more. It wasn't much more. It was $20, $30 more. Is there a good source to look for examples, metadata, or similar songs? Well, Bobby, if you have iTunes, just go in there and look at any, if you have Apple Music, go in there and look, or, even, if you have Google Play, or if you look in Spotify, there's a little metadata in those. But if you download anything, like if you downloaded a track from the web somewhere, or you still have actual music that you bought, nobody does that anymore, I don't think, not many people. But if you have tracks you bought, go in and press Command I or whatever the Windows equivalent is, and see if there's metadata in there. Or, have a friend send you one of their songs from their album, a download from their album, an MP3 or whatever, and see if there's any metadata in there.
Right. Raise your hand if you have disco. Anybody got a couple?
How many people have disco?
Yeah, like,
Some people
okay,
have their,
raise your hand if
video
you
off.
don't have disco.
Yeah, you can do, if you know how to do that reactions down there. Reactions has a raise your hand thing, and you can raise it and put it back down.
I would just like to say, if you're doing a lot of artist pitches, probably a good, catalog management system is SongSpace.
I use SongSpace for my country pitches, and when I got into sync, I really moved a lot of stuff over there, and they're essentially about the same. The one thing I liked about SongSpace a little better is it gave you geographical location, which wasn't always entirely accurate, but you can see if somebody downloaded it in, or listened to it in Nashville, and then somebody downloaded it or listened to it in LA, and I'm like, oh, they sent it to someone else. That's great. Whoever I pitched it to sent it to someone else. Nancy had a song that it was a sync song that I pitched on SongSpace, and she liked it. So I could see she'd listened to it. And then she sent it to some sync companies she was working with in California, and they listened to it. So I'm like, yes, 2 people listened to it. That gave me a lot of hope. So SongSpace is really good. Disco's the one if you lean more towards stuff.
Like, this isn't a thing about disco, but I mean, I would really like it if, Bill, could you show us how to make a playlist on disco? And would you mind doing that?
No, I could do that. And
If
again,
there's any other
meanwhile,
questions, we could do that at
ask
the
any
end.
questions.
Yeah, any other
Ask any questions.
I have a
So,
question.
good.
So my question is, like on SongSpace, when you're defining, like they have preset categories, and like there's mid-tempo. So what are the numbers that define, the literal numbers that define what's mid-tempo?
It's funny because I pitched through a service called Music Gorilla, and they have the weirdest definition to me of what tempo is. I'm like, what? It's like 150 or more is up tempo, and 110 to 150 is mid tempo. I'm like, no, that's just not right. But they make you choose one of those. But typically, down tempo or ballad, is 80 to 95. If it's 95 to 110 is probably mid-tempo. If it's over 110, it's up-tempo to me. But that there is no strict definition of that. I'll just say that.
Is it the same with mood? Like theme I get, but mood.
Yeah, mood, yeah. Well, they have their own predefined things, which are, they'll tell you what moods, but you can add your own in both of those things. They have, disco is especially good. They have like a boatload of what I want to say, predefined adjectives and moods. So they have lyric themes, they have moods as well. Yeah, so it's happy, fun, that kind of stuff. Okay, so you want me to show making a playlist?
I would love it if you would show me.
Okay, all right, we can get some questions.
I mean, I like a playlist of, I guess the little, like in SongSpace, you can put like your work tape and your demo and your master and all of the
You
stems in
can,
one
yeah, you
song?
could do that. And you can do that. And, like if I'm going to pitch something that they want the track and the instrumental and they want a vocal version, I'll show you that. So let me just again share my screen.
Well,
there-
like, I guess my question is, how do you do
Yeah.
that in disco? Because I know they don't let you
Yeah.
do that in disco. So I'm assuming you need,
Well,
put it in
it's
a
a little
playlist.
different. It's a little different. They don't let you put it under the song. They let you put it in a playlist. So it's different from Song Space. Just to answer your question really quickly, Bobby, I have both Song Space and disco. It means I have a little too much money. Basically, one is good. You don't have both. I actually separate. I usually pitch for country out of Song Space, and I pitch for sync out of disco, but really either one could work for either one, for both. So
Right.
don't follow my lead. It's a bad example. I'm wasteful, let's just say that. Okay, so let me share my desktop here. I'm going to go into my disco, and you should be able to see that here. And sorry, I'm gonna move you guys around because I'm not gonna be able to see it. So here's my disco. I told you I had this hook, line, and sync, dial sync, and those are my main, that's where I store most of my sync stuff, but there are some free floating ones. So if I want to create a playlist, I go over here to the playlist creator and I click this plus. And so I'll say, okay, let me say island songs. And I'm going to create a new one because I know I have a brief coming up and there are island songs. So I don't save it yet, but I'm going to go into to hook, line, and sync, or maybe I'm going to search for some island songs because I think I probably have that tag somewhere. So let's see if island nets me anything. So if I'm yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So I'm going to take the 30-second version of Today's the Day, and I'm going to put it in this island song playlist. My computer's running slow because I'm also running Zoom. So usually it just jumps right in there. Today's the Day. I'm going to also do, so I was just like Nancy said, oh, I want to put all the versions of Today is the Day. I want to put the instrumental, I want to put the 15-second, the one with no lead vocal. So let me create a section. So right next to the save, it'll say add a section. So I'm going to put one of my sections and it'll ask you if you want to insert it at the top or the bottom. I'm going to say Today's the Day. I can put all my versions of Today's the Day in that. So that's my first section. I'm going to add, I added the 30-second. I'm going to add the 15-second. And I'm going to add the no lead vocal. It still has some background vocals on that. And then there's probably one that's instrumental, but I don't see it really quickly. And then, all right, so then I'm going to add another section because I know I have some other songs and I'm just going to say, okay, other island songs. And that's going to be at the bottom of my playlist because I want to come after that. Today's the Day. That's my strongest one. Okay, and I'm going to put Lift Each Other Up and Lift Each Other Up instrumental. I could have called that section Lift Each Other Up. And then I'm going to save it. And then I'll show you what this looks like. I'm going to save it and there's options you can go, show lyrics, add to my star list, client version only. You just have to learn about that, but I'm not gonna go through all that. So I'm gonna say save the playlist. It's gonna save the playlist. Again, it takes a minute, and then it's gonna show you copy URL, which I can do, and then I'll send that, or I can share this playlist. If I have Nancy on my disco, so I can just share it with Nancy, and then it'll automatically track when she does it. But let's look and see what this playlist looks like now that I've saved it. This is what it'll look like when Nancy opens it or somebody else opens it. Sorry, I'm going to move you guys. And it's going to say download directly, save to disco, or they can just save to disco, save to disco. If I open it up, there'll be other options. You'll see my songs in here, the individual songs in here. If I click that you'll see the lyrics and you can just, expand that if you want. It's a very short song. Um, and you can download this whole section if you want, and you can download, save it to Disco, or you can download the MP3 if you have a WAV version. This one has the option to download the AIFF or the MP3 or save to Disco. So that's what your pitch is going to look like. And when someone clicks on that or downloads anything, like now that I've clicked on it, it's going to show one stream or one view, one page view. If I play the song, Disco is going to tell me it got played. Hey, hey. So now it'll show one of those songs was streamed because I played it. All right. Anything else about that or anything else? Well, before I stop sharing my screen here.
Well, that's awesome because I did not know how that worked. Thank you.
I told Nancy I'd give her a quick tutorial on creating playlists.
I am so happy now.
We should do Disco one day. We'll show you how to use Disco, because at first it was a little perplexing for me. Now I can make it jump up and dance because I use it all the time for pitching. So
Oh, yeah, we are definitely
is
doing it this
way
way.
to attach metadata to streaming links. Yeah. Yeah, they're attached to streaming links. You know, Disco is this one solution, but no, if you put it up on, if you metadata and you release your song and it goes to Spotify and Apple Music, it'll have the metadata and that's all streamed. I mean, some people download songs from those places, but mostly it's all streamed. The metadata is attached when you release it. So if you release it through some releasing service, say DistroKid or CD Baby, and they distribute it to Apple or Spotify, your metadata should be in there. They'll make you fill it out when you release that album or that song. So yeah, it's definitely in streaming. Never heard of Song Space. I'm a hip hop and R&B songwriter producer. We're looking for something that would allow me to pitch my artist songs. Yeah, it's great. It's good. Ever use SoundClouds? Yeah, I sometimes do. There's a few issues with SoundCloud, but it works. If you want to go on the cheap, that's good. If you already got your songs up there, you can create playlists. There's a limit to it unless you have a pro account, and there's a limit to how you can display it. It doesn't give you data on who's listening to it. Keith Kirk, I'm a metadata specialist from London. I work for Universal Sony Music. I have created a metadata sheet you can use to fill in the data. Just write Keith there. That's great. That's cool. Well, so, yeah, I mean, there are spreadsheets you can use to populate things like on Audio Source. That's a cool thing to do too, but I think that's beyond most people. But get Keith's spreadsheet or get his metadata sheet. That's cool. Love it. Because it'll give you hints of what to put in there if you're not used to putting it in there. That's cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Thanks, Kirk. Very nice. And Kirk, you can fact check me if there's anything I got wrong too.
Yeah.
I'm just the user point. So, I just was clueless about this stuff when I started, and I got in some trouble because I didn't do it right. And finally, just after, basically thousands and thousands of pitches and being signed to libraries and agents and getting placements, I'm like, I need to get my stuff together with this metadata stuff. Thanks, Keith. Well, that's very nice. At least I didn't mess up. That's good. But I wanted to do this as quickly as possible because it's not rocket science. I mean, there's some stuff you need to know and there's some stuff you need to do. It's just was surprising to me when I saw those two supervisors that said, people are messing up. I wanted to place this song and I couldn't find who sent it to me. And if you know anything about music supervision, it's always I need it yesterday. They are in such hurry and they're so overwhelmed with what all the administrative tasks and the placement tasks they have to do. They're not going to go back to search their emails. Who sent me this song? It just takes too long. Right. Metadata is the solution to that.
Right. I literally was just last weekend with Mike Turner and Jonathan Lane, two amazing music supervisors, and they said they had 3 songs right now that they'd love to be able to place in a movie, and they can't get any, they have no metadata, they have no contact information at all. So you look like a rock star if you put all of the writers and all of their PRO information. Do you put that in the comments, Bill? You know?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think we saw that,
Right.
but yeah, I definitely, I put the splits, I put, the PROs, all that stuff. And then the contact is the most important thing, because those 3 songs that you're talking about, your music supervisor friends, if they had that person's contact information, that'd make things at least workable. But really what they love is, it's all right here. I got it. I don't need to go back to that person that says one stop. I just had a guy call me today from a music supervision service, and he said, is all this information right? And have you signed this exclusively with anybody else? And I said, no, I haven't signed it exclusively. He said, great, I'm sending it out right now. He just called me to make sure, because a lot of times people won't have up-to-date information. So he's just dotting his I's and crossing his T's. He doesn't want to get in trouble with the people he's sending it to if he's made a mistake. Oh yeah, this is one stop licensable, which is what it says on my track. And then he finds out, oh, it's not one stop. Yeah, there's no such thing as too much metadata. That's right. And, I actually have a metadata cheat sheet that I got a friend of mine who had 2,000 placements. I said, I sit in front of my songs and I go, what's the adjective that describes it? So I convinced him, he has a course on sync. I said, hey, I think one of your bonuses should be all the adjectives that you use for your metadata. And he created it. And I got it. I'm not giving it to you all. You have to get your own. But it saves me a boatload of cognitive stress when I'm trying to describe my track. And I just go through, it's like a 7-page metadata adjective sheet. Now, when I went on Disco, they had their own 7-page or 2-page, I think it's more of a 2-page metadata adjectives. So I didn't have to think as much. I just had to look through the list. I go, oh, good. Okay, great. And then I can add to that list. And I have added to that list. Like on my Disco, there wasn't anything for holiday. And I write holiday songs. I write Christmas. I just wrote a Halloween song. I just got it produced today. And, it's like, there was no holiday or Halloween tag. And I'm like, I'm putting one in. Now, from now on, I'll have a Halloween tag if I ever write another Halloween song, and I'll have a holiday tag. So you can customize your own, but really, really important to get those adjectives in there, because they're looking for dark. They're looking for sweet. They're looking for bubbly. I mean, it's just figure out what your song is, play it for a few people, and they go, wow, that's a really fun song. That's really bubbly. It's like, yeah, good. Okay, great. Yeah. So if you can't get it, ask somebody else to describe your song.
Yeah, that's really good. Anybody else have any other questions? Go ahead, Trevor.
Trevor.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Charlie. So I just had a question which I think is on topic, but might be slightly off topic. But as far as metadata and just getting your splits straightened out, I'm just curious how you approach that, having other interested parties as well besides the writers. For example, like publishers or a label, or even like a publishing admin, which a lot of independent creators have.
Yep. So I'm going to answer yours and Cindy's question. How do you set up a one-stop with your co-writers? You make a one-stop, one sheet saying we all have admin rights to pitch this song and to say yes to opportunities, and we sign it. And so that's the one-stop agreement. And I didn't have a lawyer do that. I just made it up. And I just said, like, we all agree that we co-own the rights to this, because usually we do, like when I write with Trevor and he produces, he and Lucy and I write sometimes. We should have an admin agreement, and we're all friends, and we're like, yeah, we can all pitch this. We can all say yes. If it's going to be an exclusive thing, I always check with my co-writers. If it's going to be non-exclusive, yeah. So that's number one. Number two, I will tell you, I just lost out on an opportunity because I have a co-writer. Some of you know her, Victoria Banks, and she's a great writer. I wrote a song with her and I got it produced and it's amazing. And I said, can I make this one stop? And she goes, oh, sorry, no. I own my own publishing, but I have an admin deal with Sony Publishing and they make me run it through them. And she said, I have a special fast track thing where they can get it done in a day or so. And I said, okay. So somebody wanted it, a sync agency wanted it. And I said, it's not one stop. It's actually easy clear though. And she said, I don't want it. I need one stop. So I lost out on an opportunity because I didn't have it, which is the good news about most of us on this. Those published writers who are signed in LA and Nashville, when it comes to sync, they're slower than we are, and they're more encumbered than we are. They have to check with their publishers. But if they have a publisher, it's going to be a little more trouble to clear that song. Now, sometimes that's not an issue, and sometimes it is. It was with this, in this case, I lost out on the placement.
Okay, so I just want to say, I put in the chat, there's a, we have this thing called sync call, which you could get briefs and then, the publisher will submit your song if they like it. So you get the briefs and you have a sync agent sort of that will place, get your song where it needs to be. But at the bottom of the detail page, which I put in the chat, there is a song split sheet that you can have that you can just download, and you can have your co-writer sign. There's also work for hire for a producer. There's work for hire for musicians and vocalists. And then there's also—
Nancy, I think you must have put that as a private thing to somebody. Somebody must have written you privately, because I don't see that in the general chat.
Oh,
Will you put that in there?
okay.
Make sure it's going to everyone. Make sure it's going to everyone.
Oh, yeah, that's
what
right.
does one stop? Kayla says, what does one stop mean? One stop means if I'm a music supervisor or a sync agent and I go to you and I say, can I license your song? You have the right to say yes or no right now. Right now. You can say yes or no. That means I only have to stop at one place before I place it. And so it's just jargon in the sync industry. And easy clear means there's no big encumbrances, but you have to check with 3 people or 1 person or a publisher or something like that. Like if I did a cover of Wrecking Ball, the Miley Cyrus song, and that's not a one stop. I cannot say yes for her publishers and the writers. I can say yes for my recording of it, but that's only half that song. So they own the publishing. I don't own the publishing. I only own the recording because it's my version. So that is not a one stop. If I haven't written a song and own the writers share, if I write a solo song and I own the writing and the publishing and I'm not assigned to a publishing company, it's easy one stop. If I'm writing with Trevor and Lucy LeBlanc and we have an agreement between us that we can all say yes at a moment's notice, then it's also one stop. If Trevor has signed to a publishing deal in Nashville, all of a sudden it's not one stop anymore.
Mm-mm.
It may be easy clear or it may be clearable, which means you can get permission from everyone and all the legal stuff will be signed. Everybody will sign it. They're willing to sign it, but it's not easy.
Yeah, and sometimes you can't even find those publishers. You try and you try. So that's why.
Well, and also someone owns, like think of Michael here, Michael Roth, who's here. He's done recordings. He owns those masters. Somebody owns the master. And he's also often writes on his own, but even if he writes with someone else, if he has an agreement with his co-writers, let's say Michael records the song and he's written the song and he owns his own publishing. That's the easiest clear ever because you've got 3 parts of the song: the recording, the writing, and the publishing. And Michael, because he's the guy, he wrote it and sings it. He didn't have. Now, the other thing is if you hire somebody, you should hire them as work for hire, because otherwise they may claim when you get a sync placement, wait a minute, I'm on that song. And then it's not easy clear anymore because somebody's going to cause legal problem. You wrote every part of the record except the beat, then you better get a work for hire signed, or that beat person may claim part of your royalties and you or get an admin agreement with them. Yeah.
Okay.
You brought an unlimited lease from online. That's complicated. You just have to list them. They'll tell you how to list the publishing. They'll usually get part of the publishing. As you say, if you bought a track or leased a track from somebody and they'll say, yeah, you can license this. You just need to give me the publishing or half the publishing. They'll give you details about that in the contract that comes along with the lease track. I would generally avoid that, and also avoid samples. They always say to avoid samples unless you cut them up and changed them, because those things will encumber something and they can't be said to be one stop. Somebody could make a claim on that recording because they say, that's my sample. I sold that sample online and you used it. I want a part of that song. So you got to be careful. But this is, again, a little bit on this.
Tell your producer to make a sample like that one that you like.
Yeah. Tell them to make something like that if you have a producer. But, again, if you get your beats online, you just have to make an arrangement with those beat makers. And, they sometimes have it formally on sites that sell them, like, BeatStars or all those, Epidemic Sounds. They have a formal agreement and they'll have a contract on there you can look at. But some sync supervisors and music supervisors and sync agents will balk at that stuff. They just don't want to. Yeah, have an admin agreement. Yeah, I don't have the example of that right now. No, not easily at hand. But you can make up your own.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And you should hire Nancy's lawyer friend who will help you. Right? What's his name again?
Chuck Allen Floyd. And if you
He's amazing. He knows his stuff, and he will help you just draft a very simple one. It won't cost you very much, and he knows his stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Chuck Allen Floyd law firm in Nashville.
Thanks. Hey, you guys, I'm going to do this drawing right now. Because people are leaving, Bill. So before they're all done,
they got the most of the information. They should
did. So, and if you are here, I put everybody's name in here. I'm going to randomize this list. Okay, David Jarman, are you here?
Are you still here, David?
No.
David Lee.
Yeah, I think a lot of people left already. Okay, I would just say, Joyce, are you still here?
Yeah, Joyce was here, or she was here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Joyce.
Hey, Joyce.
Joyce.
Yeah. All right, Joyce won.
Joyce won.
Hey, I won. No way.
You won.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
this is what you won. You won this book.
thank you.
You
won this book.
Awesome.
Now you got to give Nancy your mailing information. She's up in Canada.
Oh my God.
Are you in Canada, Nancy?
No,
she's in Nashville.
In Nashville.
Oh, you know what? I can give you my Nashville address because I'm going to be going
give
there.
me your Nashville address. Okay.
Oh, that'll be a lot easier.
It'll be a lot cheaper.
Okay.
A lot easier. And I'm going to be there in October, November. I mean, yeah. Okay. Good to see you, Bill. Thanks for all the information. Very informative.
Nice to you.
Yeah.
Joyce, put your address, your Nashville.
Just do a private thing. Just do a private thing to her. Just choose Nancy as host instead of everyone. And put your address in there, and she'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Any last minute? You know what I like to do, Nancy? I don't know, you may have something else. But I'd like to unmute everyone and let everyone say goodbye before they go. But any other last minute pressing questions or comments?
I'm looking for this message, Joyce. Oh, this direct message. Oh my gosh, why can't I find it?
This is super helpful, Bill. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Great. Thanks.
Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, just, unmute yourself and say, thank you all for taking the time to be here. Yeah, just unmute yourself and say goodbye. You didn't find it?
Hey,
Nancy?
Joyce, I am definitely not seeing it. Oh my gosh, what is the matter with me? Oh,
well, you have Nancy's email, Joyce. Just write her an email. She sent you a
okay.
confirmation.
I'll just
write her an email. That'll probably be the easiest rather than spend time here. All right, you can unmute yourself and say goodbye, but thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you again.
Thank you.
Some of you in writing appointments.
Bye and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
All right.